And that's why I came to my conclusion that that the defense could very possibly say that Kaylee didn't do this, or Casey didn't do this at all.
Interesting, just because we know Casey will never accept responsibility for anything, for taking a gas can, let alone killing her daughter. This dysfunction in this family is so twisted and so creepy, I think, is the only way I can describe it. I want to go back to our posters. They have posted some very interesting things. A poster named Solace, a very well-known, loved poster, posted this about Cindy Anthony and the Anthony family. I don't think Cindy ever could have imagined that Casey would resort to murder to get out of responsibility. But Casey didn't know or care what responsibility was. She was never taught responsibilities, morals, ethics, anything to make her an upstanding citizen of society. And I think that's exactly right. Cindy Anthony controlled that family so tightly that she did not let her children learn how to be an upstanding citizen. AZ Lawyer, do you really think it was premeditated? I go back and forth on that, and let me tell you one thing. I do not think this jury is going to convict her of first-degree murder because there is, like you spoke of earlier, AZ Lawyer, there is that wiggle room of was it an accident or wasn't it? Do you think it was first-degree murder?
I think it was, but again, I don't know if everybody on this jury will think that it was premeditated beyond a reasonable doubt. I think there will be people on there who will think it was probably premeditated, but they can't say beyond a reasonable doubt. And so you very well could have her, I think the most likely result would be convicted of some lesser charge, perhaps aggravated manslaughter of a child. That's one of the charges on the charge list.
What would the sentence be for something like that?
I believe the maximum sentence is 30 years for that in Florida.
Mm-hmm. So there is probably a real possibility that Casey Anthony will get out and have a normal life at some point, and I agree with you. I just don't. I go back and forth. Everybody knows that on her computer there was all of this information about, breaking a neck and making chloroform. And, of course, they're going to say, well, it wasn't Casey that looked it up. But come on. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck, people. And she was planning it. And then again, there's nothing on anything they have found to suggest an actual premeditated killing. And that right there, if you go by the law, and I would assume that Judge Perry is going to be specific that it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt to go for the death penalty, how can you say that reasonably you can say absolutely for sure that she did it, she premeditated? I think she did, but I think if you go by the letter of the law, I think the jury's going to have a real tough time coming down to that. And boy, if that's what happens, I can tell you Web Sleuths is going to explode in addition to the moderators exploding. People will go crazy. Am I right, Kimster? Our members won't be able to handle this too well. Am I correct, Kimster?
Yeah, in fact, I think that is during my vacation when that happens, isn't it?
No. You are not. You did not put in for vacation. You are not going on vacation. Oh, my goodness. I can't imagine. Okay, we only have a few minutes left here. The show is actually for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, not 60. So we have about 4 minutes left. We have some sad news. America's Most Wanted has been canceled again by Fox. And they did this a few years ago, and there was such an outcry that they brought it back. I think America's Most Wanted should be considered a public service show. But Fox is complaining they're not making enough money off of it, so they're going to show reruns. AZ Lawyer, weigh in on this. What do you think?
Well, I don't see the point of showing reruns. I suppose they're only going to show the reruns of the people that haven't been caught. That would make a little bit more sense. I don't understand why the ratings aren't higher, I suppose.
Well, I think
it's like interesting. It's an interesting issue. So.
Well, the problem is it's not in TV. You have a target demographic, and the 18 to 34 is just what they want, and 18 to 34-year-olds are not their highest group on America's Most Wanted. I would think it's more like 34 to 65, and that's just not a real money group. Kimster, what do you think of America's Most Wanted and John Walsh? Everybody loves them. I'm sure you do too.
I absolutely love that show. I've been watching it for a long time. I read a book about some of the early episodes a long time ago. I don't remember the name of it. It was one of the first shows I ever watched. In fact, the only show I ever watched about crime and crime prevention. And I think it's a travesty. I think what you said in the beginning right there was, it's a public service. And whether they're making money or not, it's a public service, and I think it should stay on the air.
Exactly, and it might. Now, there's going to be a lot of outcry. There's already a lot of petitions up, and if you come to Web Sleuths in the next few days, we'll have links and places you can go to write and things like that, because it does need to be kept on the air. I actually was on America's Most Wanted, not a criminal. I played myself, believe it or not, in 1994. I was involved in a hostage situation. I wasn't a hostage, but a crazy man took all these people hostage in the Salt Lake City library, and he called the radio station I worked at, and I was the program director, so I talked with him. And he kept telling me he was going to kill everybody unless I put him on the air, and the police are in another phone screaming, don't put him on the air. And I just finally said to him, the button's broken, I can't put you on the air, and he bought it. I can't believe it. But the reason why America's Most Wanted did a story on it is one of the hostages who got himself taken hostage on purpose was a Salt Lake County Sheriff's deputy. And what he did was he sat in there for 4 hours. The guy had a bomb, and it was a live, scary bomb. And the sheriff sat there and looked at the guy and realized that maybe the bomb wasn't connected correctly. Well, one of the hostages started to go into diabetic shock. So this sheriff's deputy stood up, ran toward the hostage taker, his name was Clifford Draper, shot him and screamed, everybody down, Salt Lake County Sheriff's Department, and then jumped on him to take, I always get emotional, to take the brunt of the bomb. If it went off, he would have been killed, and it didn't go off. And so this officer, Lloyd Prescott, was named Police Officer of the Year in the United States. And every year America's Most Wanted does a full hour on that person. And so I got to play myself. And one thing I learned, I suck as an actress. I can't even play myself. It's embarrassing. And they still show it in reruns sometimes. Like, oh, no. Okay, kids, you know what? We are out of time. AZ Lawyer, you have been such a sweetheart and a doll, and thank you for posting on Web Sleuths. We'll have you on again real soon, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, and Kimster, what can I say? Get out that ray gun. Get ready, because tomorrow is going to be a wild day on Web Sleuths. And everybody, next week we have some exciting guests. I have no clue who they will be, but I'll find some somewhere. Signing off, it's true crime, current events, and we discuss it with common sense. Web Sleuths Radio. Good night.
Good night.
You're listening to Web Sleuths Radio with Tricia Griffith, right here on LA Talk Radio.